sped up a little bit. Scherer on your left. Will Kruger on your right. Let's watch this unfold as Will starts things off with a Watery Grave that enters the battlefield tapped. For Caleb, a Yavimaya Coast. Back to Will. That is a choked estuary. We head back over to Caleb now, as the deck list here are up on Cardboard Live if you'd like to take a look. You can get your eyes on that information. Another copy of Yavimaya Coast. This is a Satyr Wayfinder. That can help in finding Lotus Field, which it appears it has just done. Underworld Breach among the cards that are headed to the graveyard. So we head back over to Will now. Will with a Water Grave untapped. And how about a Narset, Parter of Veils? It's just going to stay on 5. Elevator not going down, as having Narset on the battlefield is a very difficult thing for Caleb to overcome given what his deck needs to do.
We've been seeing a lot of Narset and no activation in the last couple of rounds. Interesting that the static text box on Narset carrying a lot of weight in these matchups.
Yeah, it's more or less like an enchantment that can be attacked.
But not easy for Scheer's, 1 Satyr Wayfinder, 4 Arboreal Grazer, and a handful of Vizier of Tumbling Sands to attack off the battlefield.
Tumble right on through. Looks like Caleb's going to take some damage here from these Pain lands. This is a Lotus Field. So those 2 lands are headed to the graveyard. That's a Vizier. Let's do a little untap Skipoo. And now, another Vizier. Okay.
Whoa, he's just...
Now Tamiyo. Now remember, he's cycling the Viziers, but he can't draw any cards.
Right.
Because of Narset. So this is what we like to call the hard way.
Man, very good that Kruger came with that Narset last turn. It could already be over.
It very well may have been game right
over,
there.
yeah.
Tamiyo. We're going to name a card. Did we name correctly? Obviously we did not. And now Satyr Wayfinder is going to knock Narset down to 4. Will wants to take a look here, see exactly what Caleb is working with in the graveyard. Again, we know there are multiple copies of Vizier of Tumbling Sands. That's a fun one to say. And now there is Jace, Wielder of Mysteries. So 2 Planeswalkers here for Will as he'll mill himself 2 cards and opt in Thoughts. So he's draw a copy of Inverter of Truths. We're going to head back over to Caleb. Can he break out of this problem? He does have a copy of Blast Zone in hand, but there's some work to be done there. That's for sure. And how does he want to use Tamiyo now that it is on the battlefield for more than a single turn?
And I'm guessing here to stay, if you had something like Hero's Downfall in your hand, if you're in Kruger's spot, I think it's better to cast that rather than your own Jace. Not like there's a lot of really good downfall targets, so sure you can kind of bank on this being in play for multiple turns.
Caleb taking a long look at it. One thing that you have to ask yourself about Caleb when playing this deck. So when we watch him play Storm in Modern, Storm in Legacy, he knew exactly what he wanted to do every turn. The turns were not long for him. He didn't have to do what he's doing right now, which is really assess the graveyard, the battlefield, and the overall situation. Caleb had been, or has been, in just about every situation you could possibly be in with Storm in those formats. Lotus Breach, this is a different animal entirely. Pioneer's pretty new. Lotus Breach is very new. And while I think this deck does fit into his skill set, it's still a new puzzle for him to solve.
Well, also playing this sort of deck through Narset is pretty complicated. You know, when you're talking about Modern Storm, first of all, a lot of your cantrips don't even draw a card or they're instant, so it's kind of easy to circumvent that way. Second, you can just go ahead and set up a small grape shot to get out from that spot quite frequently. It's much, much harder to do that with this strategy. I mean, he's just got to figure out a way to play through it, and that involves both short and long-term ramifications.
A couple of cards are getting milled there, and it looks like we might be going to Inverter now.
Yep. Sure, responding there with the Ibnu Rivulet.
Ibnu Rivulet, of course, meaning that there will be more cards in Will's deck now. So Will is going to mill a Jace and a Thought Eraser and draw a card. Jace is up to 6. Narset's still hanging out at 3. Will has not activated that card yet at all. And that is purposeful.
And I doubt he's going to do it now because that could open up a shot for Satyr Wayfinder to finish off the job, and then Scherer could probably win pretty easily from there.
Both these players 5-0, and you can see why, especially on Will Kruger's side. A name that we don't know all that well here on the SCG Tour, but he's playing a very nice first game and understanding exactly how to manage his resources to help him get a bit of an advantage. And it looks like Caleb is going to pack it in. So Will Kruger looks like he wins game number 1 here over Caleb Scherer. Notable. These players are going to go to the drawing board. We're going to do the same. Partner, you've got Caleb's sideboard and deck list in front of you. Oh, what do you see?
So a variety of tutor targets with Fae of Wishes. 1 copy of the following cards: Alpine Moon, Fog, Tomb Scour, Underworld Breach, Unravel the Aether, Anger of the Gods, Jace, Wielder of Mysteries, Hour of Devastation, Chandra, Awakened Inferno, Thought Distortion, and Ugin, the Spirit Dragon. Set those aside, probably not coming in. They are there to be found. The cards that he actually has 2 copies of: Dissenter's Deliverance and Ratchet Bomb, neither of which seem exceptional in this matchup. Dissenter's Deliverance might be a hedge against Leyline, but I think pretty light sideboarding here from Scherer, if any at all.
On Will Kruger's side of things, currently up a game. Well, he's got, he's not messing around. 3 copies of Damping Sphere.
Okay.
So those are coming in. 2 Jace Vryn's Prodigy. I can see those joining the party. 2 Legion's End, not so much. And a Gate, okay. Noxious Grasp, doubt it. Thassa's Oracle, don't think it's necessary. 2 copies of Ashiok Nightmare Weaver, too expensive. Cry of the Carnarium, not for this matchup. And then 2 copies of Mystical Dispute. I like them here, too. So I think it's actually pretty straightforward sideboarding.
Right, and it wouldn't surprise me if Scherer's 2 sideboard slots for Dissenter's Deliverance and 2 copies of Ratchet Bomb, they're sort of, okay, so if my opponent has Damping Sphere, they're great. They're good answers. And if not, the opportunity cost is pretty low. Dissenter's Deliverance cycles, and Ratchet Bomb, they're going to play something. It'll interact with a card somewhere down the line. So it wouldn't surprise me if those 4 cards just kind of came in the dark against everyone, assuming that if they have a specific hate card, they're very good answers. And if they don't, really no harm, no foul.
Well, we're underway here in game number 2. Sheltered Thicket. And now here's a Thoughtseize. Caleb has Vizier of Tumbling Suns. Botanical Sanctum, Fae of Wishes, Sylvan Scrying. And it looks like a Hidden Strings, and let's make it 2 Viziers. Look at me having to test my card knowledge here. So how do you poke a hole here? I think you just take the Sylvan Scrying, because that pokes a hole in being able to find Lotus Field, but it looks like we instead decided to go with Fae of Wishes and poke a hole there.
Suggests to me Damping Sphere could be in Kruger's hand.
Okay.
The Fae could answer that in some way, but...
Well, there you go. Look at you.
I know, still got it.
You still do. Oh, well. Beatdown's ever heard of it? Have you ever heard of it?
Sir, modest.
There's a Thought Eraser. Hidden Strings, Lotus Field, Thespian Stage, another Vizier. The Vizier's headed to the graveyard.
Trying to cipher?
How about a Sylvan Scrying? That'll resolve. Blast Zone can solve your problem. 1 counter on the powerful land. There's a Jace Vryn's Prodigy. Fabled Passage. The land there for Kruger. And he'll pass the turn back. So Vizier's going to untap a land and allow Blast Zone to go up to 2 counters. Nifty play there from Caleb. Vizier, uncommon from Emenket. Doesn't hit very hard, just a 1/3. But it does have the ability to tap and untap target permanent. And now Lotus Field is on the battlefield.
And now a touch. Give him a little taste.
A little taste.
A little hint of things to come.
And if this one gets away from Will, you got to think about this a little bit. Thoughtseize. That was step one.
I don't know.
Thoughtseiz's into dampings where you think you'd have some time.
I don't know about that Jace Prodigy turn.
Yeah.
Didn't look good. I mean, that Blast Zone's kind of on Damping Sphere detail anyway.
Look, no argument here.
Didn't look good.
Narset's joined the fray. Temple of Mystery. Let's take a look. Top card becoming the bottom one. Vizier. Knock it down to 4. Heading back over to Will. Will draw. Opt. Top card stays on top. Next, Thought Erasure. Let's take a look. Hidden String's gone. Thespian Stage, Temple of Mystery. Those are the leftovers. Note that Caleb doesn't know the top card of his deck. Neither does Will. Will's going to play a Watery Grave untapped alongside that Fabled Passage. I don't think he's going to activate Narset. He didn't in game number 1. Doesn't appear as though he has any interest here in game numero dos. So,
yeah, I think there's a, if the Narset gets down to 2, then I think it becomes a question of whether or not you want to leave Narset on the battlefield for a couple more turns or try to find something meaningful. But for now, Kruger's, he's already sort of displayed this line of just wanting to keep the Narset on the battlefield to prevent Scherer from comboing out.
Nothing great on the draw step there for Caleb, so he just plays a Temple of Mystery, scribes the top card to the bottom, and Will's going to do a whole lot better than that. He'll take a look at the top 7 cards and take 2 along with him because he's resolving a dig through time.
Competitors, that is time in the round. If it's your turn, finish your turn. You have 5 additional turns to finish your match. Once again, players in the open, that is time in the round.
Kruger's going to pass a turn back over to Scherer. Scherer's going to draw a card. He'll play a Thespian Stage. He'll tumble on in. Narset's down to 2. Only 2 more attacks to go, big guy.
You're so close. You're so close.
Opting and scrying and now untapping and drawing is Will Kruger. Jace. Looks like it might be coming down. But first, a land. And now here is Jace. That resolves. Elevator going up. Mill 2 Underworld Breaches. And draw a card Will. Caleb's going to untap all those lands. He's got 2 Thespian Stages. He's got 2 Lotus Fields on the battlefield now.
Milieu, not a good sign here for Scherer. It suggests that Kruger's got the combo rolled up.
Well, there is Inverter. That deck is not very large, folks. Opt, game, set, match. Will Kruger going to win this match over Caleb Scherer. 2 games to 0. Dimir Inverter dispatches of Lotus Breach pretty easily.